I'm Alex Seghers, and I'm here to talk about tiny humans. So I'm basically here to go over the basics so that you can continue to answer those biological questions whenever you talk about abortion and the unborn. People hadn't seen the window into the womb as much as they have today, right? You can see ultrasounds, you can see in textbooks, you can see all these amazing, incredible illustrative pictures and 3D models of what the unborn looks like in the womb, and that's awesome. But sadly, that information isn't being spread around enough today, and people are kind of refusing to believe it. So what I have for you is some conversational tools to be able to get to that point of understanding that that human is a human right from the beginning. And then of course we're going to look at some amazing facts that some of you may know these things, some of you may not know these things, and that's cool. What we've heard, so people still say that the unborn is not alive. They say, oh, but it's not alive yet. It hasn't taken its first breath yet. Its brain isn't working. All of these things. And it's just a clump of cells. It's just tissue. It's just a part of the woman's body, like a parasite. And then, it's not human, right? That it's not human until it's fully developed, or they're talking about that it's not an individual human apart from the mom being a human. It gets all very confusing, but basically people say a lot of things that they try to use to support their position, because what it is that they truly don't understand exactly what's going on. All they've heard is talking points, all they've heard is anger, all they've heard is women's rights, and they spout off these things without thoroughly thinking about it. But we know that every embryologist in the world says that the life of the new human begins at fertilization. It's not belief, it's not political belief, it's not religious belief. This is scientific fact, right? And I don't expect you to go up to people and say, this is scientific fact, right? So you have to have conversational skills that help walk through these things. So how do we know that the unborn is alive? I have done several presentations at schools all throughout Louisiana, and I love asking these questions because it does start to make these students think, and they just start saying things that they thought is what these words meant. But then they realize over time that it's not. So I ask, what's alive? And they go, what makes something alive? Oh, a heart beating, breathing, right? I'm like, no, actually something that's alive is something even more at the core of that, right? What's at the core of being alive? If you're living, you are also, and sometimes I'll tell them, it starts with the G word, everybody, and they'll be like, growing. And I'm like, it's growing. And then I chuck lifesavers at them, because lifesavers, yes, I'm glad you laughed. So, right, if something is growing, it is living. If it is not growing, it is not alive. If it has stopped growing, it's likely dead, right? And then I'll ask them, okay, so with every growing thing, what's at the basic structure of that growing thing? Cells, right? Most students end up getting that and are starting to think along the lines of this point. Cells are constantly multiplying, dividing, metabolizing, growing, right? Growing. If you're alive, you're growing. If you're growing, you're alive. My next question I ask is, okay, well, what makes one living thing distinct from another living thing? First of all, what does distinct mean? They'll say different, they'll say unique. Good, right? Every single living thing is unique. What makes one living thing unique as opposed to another living thing? Right? And of course, for a lot of us who are very, intellectual, we'll say DNA. And of course, that's at the very core of what makes us unique. But how can we tell that that's what makes us unique? You can look at people and you can say, okay, this person has blue eyes, this person has brown eyes. That's awesome. So the question I often ask for this one is, so I'm pregnant, right? Or if I was pregnant, not pregnant now, that wasn't an announcement. For those 9 months, I could be carrying a girl, or other times I'd be carrying a boy, yes, boy. So for the 9 months that I'm carrying that boy, am I considered half of a man? And they'll all kind of be like, what? I never thought about that. I'm like, no, the answer is no. I am fully a woman, no matter ever tell me otherwise, right? I am a woman. I could be carrying a girl. I wouldn't be double girl, I'd be carrying another girl. I am a woman, I could be carrying a boy. It would make me part of a boy, but I could be carrying a boy inside me while at the same time I'm 100% woman, right? Those gender qualities are completely distinct from each other. We could have 2 different blood types. I'll ask them, if I hit myself, is baby gonna say ow? No, right? Because my nervous system is completely different than my baby's nervous system, right? I don't tell them you have 4 eyes, 4 ears, 2 mouths, 2 nose. All of those things are completely unique and separate, no matter where that baby is along that point. Those body parts are not mine. And of course, at that core is that DNA is completely separate from mine. One of the final questions I ask him is, okay, what makes you human? If you're alive and you're distinct, what actually makes you human? Again, sometimes they'll say heartbeat, or do you have a brain? And I'm like, animals have a heartbeat, animals have a brain. Breathing, animals breathe too. Plants use oxygen in their own way, right? These are not what makes you human. There's one simple thing that makes you human. And then some people will say, oh, but you have a soul, free will. And for the Catholics out there, for the Christians out there, great answers, right? But I am here looking for simply a biological answer, a scientific answer, something that is separate from religion that everybody can get behind. So, again, say I'm pregnant and I'm laying on the ultrasound table, doctor's putting the ultrasound cream on my belly, and, he's looking in the ultrasound screen. He says, oh, congratulations, Alex, you're having a litter of kittens. And what would I think? What degree do you have again? Right? No, I wouldn't have kittens. Why not? Normally the class is like, because you're not a cat. I'm like, right, because I'm not a cat. Right? I'm a human. Humans come from humans. Cats come from cats. Dogs come from dogs. Plants come from plants. Right? My husband's not gonna be in the waiting room going, please God, I hope it's not a tomato. I'm really tired of those in my salads. I'm so sick of them. She eats them all the time. I just really don't want it to be tomato. No. He's gonna wonder, is it a boy or a girl? And how many babies, right? But we know that it's a human. Right? Simply from the fact that every being is a specific kind of being, and every being reproduces only after its own kind. Also ask, out of alive, distinct, and human, what is something that is alive and human, but not distinct? Alive and human, but not distinct. So sometimes they'll be thinking about this really well, and they'll say twins. I'm like, twins, but I have sisters who are twins, and they're definitely 2 distinct human beings. Yeah, they are identical, right? But one likes ballet, one likes softball, one likes color blue, one likes color yellow, one goes to SLU, one goes to Ave Maria, right? They're definitely distinct human beings. So we're not just talking about twins. Okay, so then I'll tell everybody put your hands up. So if you're home, go ahead and do that. And then put your hands together and rub them. And rub them over your spouse or your sibling's head that's sitting next to you at the table. Thousands of skin cells are falling to their death. Thousands of skin cells are falling to their death no matter where you go, how much you rub. We're just shedding skin cells all the time. It's kind of gross. But those skin cells, whenever they fall off of you, there's no purpose anymore, right? You're not suddenly doing this and sprouting hundreds and thousands of human beings, right? No, they are alive, right? They're multiplying, dividing, metabolizing, whatever on your skin. They're human. They've got your human DNA in them, but they are not distinct from you, right? They're not distinct from you. They are part of you. You, as a whole, with your skin cells, with your brain, with your eyes, with your hair, with your heart, and regardless of if you have one arm, regardless of if you don't have 80% of a normal brain, whatever you have, that makes you you. That makes you your own living human organism, right? With the unborn, no matter at what point in their lives, they are their own living human organism. Okay, so how do we apply all this? So 2 alive and human, but not distinct parts. And trust me, they are not separate human beings. That's not what pro-lifers are saying, but they come together and then they make this alive, distinct human being. Now, this looks like a clump of cells, right? That's fine. You can say that. You can acknowledge that that does not look like a human being to you. But the fact is, every single person looked like this at one point in their lives, right? So, and that happens in a matter of hours, and that is the actual size of that is the dot on an I on a 12-point font, right? So every single one of you is that tiny at one point in your lives, right? So, okay, say that was me, right? Say if you're looking at me as a dot and I on 12-point font, this point in your life matters just as much as any other point in your life, right? Because without that, you couldn't have you now. So say that that's me, Alex. Hold it. And I say I was not in my mom's room. Say I was underneath a microscope and doctor was kind of looking at me, right? Investigating, looking at my DNA, everything that makes up me today, right? Including my incredible personality. Just kidding. I do have an incredible personality, but that's beside the point. So he's looking at it and he's like, oh gosh, I have to go to the bathroom. And he gets up and he bumps the table in accident and I go sliding out the microscope. And as he's going to the bathroom, he steps on me. If he steps on me, what happens to me? I'm likely dead, right? That tiny. And if he stepped on me at that point in my life, would I be here today? No, I would not be here today. Then you look like this. What does that look like to you? Students will say shrimp, right? Dinosaur, ear, minnow, I don't know, things like that. I had one student tell me, that looks like a Cheeto. And I was like, Cheeto? What kind of Cheetos are you eating? It's time for you to throw those away at a certain point, please. At that point, your heart's already beating, and that's before most women even know that they're pregnant. And by that point, that heart is already beating so fast. It's amazing, right? I was on UNO's campus one time. This girl storms up to my table, right? I was tabling about pro-life stuff. And she said, I don't think it's alive until the heart starts beating. So I simply asked her, well, that's okay. When do you think the heart starts beating? She was like, 6 months. Nobody does abortions after 6 months because that's when the heart starts beating, and so that's when it's human. So I said, well, if you look at all the data we have now, and the scientific research we have now, you're looking at 20-ish days. And she just kind of soaked that in for a minute. And she still remained silent. So I said, look, if we're gonna say that abortion is right and if we're gonna draw the line somewhere, we have to really know what we're talking about before we draw that line. This is an important piece of information here. It gets to a lot of people. So just go along about 40 days later and you look like a little jelly bean, right? Cute little jelly bean with the little jelly bean hands, little jelly bean feet. So cute, right? At that point, your brain waves can start being detected, right? So which means it's been working before. That's pretty awesome. So say hello to my little friend. Sorry, I'm so weird, but this little guy right here is about 7 weeks along, right? So this would be the actual size of an unborn human that's about 7 weeks. Facial features are visible, including mouth and tongue. Eyelids have begun to form. Major muscle system is developed. Child has its own blood type. 100,000 new brain cells are formed every minute. The heart rate is beating 140 to 150 beats per minute, almost twice as fast as mom's. 8 weeks. This one now swims and moves gracefully inside the protective amniotic sac. Every organ is present. The stomach produces digestive juices, and liver makes blood cells. The kidneys are beginning to function, taste buds are forming, brain waves can be measured, the heart beats sturdily. The baby's eyelids and palms of the hands are sensitive to touch at this point. 9 weeks. The baby is now at this point called a fetus, meaning little one. Aww. The hands now bend at the wrist and fingerprints and fingernails are just beginning to show. Elbows are formed, nerves begin to function, the baby's bones may begin to harden, thumb sucking occurs, male or female organs appear, the baby will move away if touched through the uterine wall and can move spontaneously. 10 weeks. The child is sensitive to touch, squints, swallows, frowns, puckers up the eyebrow. The voice box is forming. The baby will stretch out and show breathing-like movements. The tiny baby teeth are forming in the gums. The heart is almost completely formed and resembles a small version of a newborn baby's heart. The baby is now about 2.5 inches in length. Now the baby's main job is just to grow bigger and stronger until the day of birth. Everything happens at this point. 7 to 10 weeks. What? But we're not stopping. 12 weeks, the heart has been beating for 9 weeks. The fingernails have fingerprints and tiny developing fingerprints. Baby can make facial expressions and smile. 16 weeks, baby is active. Mom will just start to feel baby move, even though she's been moving for a long time now. Baby may suck her thumb, turn somersaults, and has a firm grip. Baby begins to develop sleeping habits. I guess REM sleep, right? Meaning maybe that they can dream. 22 weeks, mom may feel the baby kick or hiccup, may be able to identify a bulge as an elbow or head. Each side of the brain has over 1 billion nerve cells. The baby is now able to hear. Oops, sorry. Child sleeps and wakes, nestling in her favorite positions and stretches upon waking up. In a couple of weeks, the eyelids will begin to reopen, preparing to see the outside world. Tiny humans are awesome. So much happens at that point in your life, and I just hope that you've enjoyed this. And please tune in tonight, 7 p.m., as I share with you a little bit more about these tiny humans and, of course, the grave injustice that's happening to them today in our society.